Hello and welcome to the Tournament Center here at Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch in Atlanta. I'm Brian Dave Marshall. I'm joined by Ian Duke. We're going to watch a Hall of Famer draft. There you see him sitting. He's sitting 2 seats down from a Hall of Famer. He's feeding a Hall of Famer. There's Gudenis Vidugiris. There's Jacob Wilson. Let's see what Shuhei Nakamura does with his first Oath of the Gatewatch pack. There you see the pack in front of him. And what does he show? Oh, he's got an Eldrazi Displacer near the front of the pack here.
Really interesting card. Definitely a first pickable card, really powerful.
Isolation Zone, the one of the top white common?
Yeah, I would say so for sure. I think either of those are great ways to start out the draft. The Displacer maybe has a little bit more upside, but of course you have to get colorless mana paired with white.
Pretty deep pack of white. There's also shoulder to shoulder. There were 3 copies of that in the winning deck from from Grand Prix Nagoya. But he is going with the Eldrazi Displacer here. Sending a pretty strong white signal to John Finkel to his left.
Yeah, that's one of the tough things about that first pick there is no matter which you pick between the Isolation Zone and the Displacer, you're sending a strong white signal. But yeah, Displacer's great. At worst, it's a 3-mana 3/3, which is a great starting point. And if you're able to get a little bit of colorless mana, it's really, really powerful.
Yeah, it's a decent body to support onto. Wow. Oblivion Strike, the top, I think consensus top common.
Best common overall,
here.
yeah. I think that's agreed upon for sure.
Mina and Den. There's a Blinding Drone, one of the top blue commons in the set.
Yeah, it's looking like out of this pack, Oblivion Strike is probably the best pick to go with the Displacer as a first pick. White-black being a really popular combination among players this weekend, so I think Shuhei probably happy to add that second color to his combination.
And is that where you want to go? You open up a white card. Is that where you want to end up?
Yeah, all of the white color combinations I think are great. Can work really well. I think black-white is probably rated as the highest among them. So if it's open, you definitely want to jump into that. And speaking of which, here's the black-white uncommon Cliffhaven Vampire.
Right. You see him looking at the Kozilek's Translator. He's got to think about where he's going to get his colorless mana from, if he's going to activate his Eldrazi Displacer, or if he's going to end up being some kind of ally deck.
Yeah, I think in this case, the Vampire is just clearly ahead in terms of power level and fits really well with what most white-black decks are doing.
Yeah, there you see him take the Cliffhaven Vampire.
The white-black deck, if you haven't had a chance to draft it yet, Oath of the Gatewatch, again, very much about life gain and ally synergies.
So we agreed we were going to tell people not to draft the black-white ally deck, so it was open for us a little bit more.
That's right. Part of our plan, BDM.
So there you see a Sky Scourer, Thought Harvester, Hedron Crawler, a card that's steadily gone up in people's pick orders since the release of this new set.
Yeah, really important source of colorless mana and acceleration, another body to support onto. Nothing really stands out that strongly
Tar
here to
Snare is
me.
a fine removal spell.
Yeah, I like the Tar Snare here.
I like the shoulder to shoulder too.
But looks like he goes for the Hedron Crawler, and that makes sense given the Eldrazi Displacer.
Yeah, the Eldrazi Displacer. He'd like to have a few sources of colorless mana in his deck, if he plays that.
Ooh, Wall of Resurgence, really powerful card in a defensive white-black deck.
Right, gives you a nice body to stall the ground, gives you another creature in terms of turning one of your lanterns creature. A little tricky to play on turn 3 sometimes.
Yeah, definitely true.
But
and it's worth noting here, we keep referring to Shuhei's deck as a white-black deck. He does only have the single Oblivion Strike so far, and hasn't really seen...
And the Cliffhaven Vampire.
Oh, he's the Cliffhaven Vampire as well, yeah. So I guess it is pretty likely that he will lock into to white-black, but the Wall, a decent pickup regardless.
So...
Ondu War Cleric, really nice one.
Great to extend out the game, works with a lot of the black-white synergies.
Yep, fits with both the ally theme and the life gain theme, so just a perfect card for that deck.
Yep. A clear head and shoulders over the shoulder drone, over the drone that slaughter drone that he chose not to take, Another Wall of Resurgence, a McKindy Aeronauts.
Yeah, the other card I'm looking at here is Unknown Shores, is actually one of the best ways to splash colorless mana into your deck, especially when you're in a combination that doesn't have that much colorless generation or use colorless mana that much, but Wall of Resurgence, I think, just too much of a solid card to add to the deck.
It basically gives you 2 bodies in one play.
And I like what Shuhei's doing here. He has the Displacer. He picked up a little bit of colorless mana when it was convenient for him, but he's not really like totally moving in on that pick. So I like that a lot.
Wastes, Core Sky Climber, and Shoulder to Shoulder come to the front of the pack.
Shoulder to Shoulder is a card I really like in the aggressive decks, like white, red, and white, green, where you have a lot of early weenies. But yeah, I was actually looking at the Sky Climber as well there. I think both of those were reasonable picks.
Reaver Drone, the Wastes. Now we're going to see our first Wastes drafted.
Yeah, it's a really good time to pick up Wastes here too, because I like having just exactly one Waste in my deck, because that turns on things like Evolving Wilds later on in the draft that can give you additional sources of colored or colorless mana. Yeah. So really nice to pick those up when you can.
Lumar Entangler, but he takes which I saw that card. It was Brute Strength.
Yeah, just a combat trick, solid card. He's probably not going to play it unless things take a sharp turn, but decent to have.
Corpse Churn.
Yeah.
Been a reasonable card. The couple times I've had to squeeze it into a deck.
Yeah, it's a solid card. It's a little bit better than a Raised Dead. I like it in the black-green decks as well, where you get a little bit of synergy for filling your graveyard.
Okay, now we're just going through the last. But at this point in the pack, you're not expecting that these cards will make it into your deck.
For sure.
We did a draft last night, and there were a surprising amount of Elemental Uprisings cast.
Yeah, that's a really interesting card. It was actually somewhat contentious in R&D, where we disagreed a lot on how playable, if at all, that card was. So that's one of the cards I'm curious to keep tabs on this weekend.
Yeah, let's take a look at the deck that Shuhei has started to assemble here.
Looking pretty solid so far. Nice start to black-white.
He's got the Corpse Churn in the starting lineup right now.
Yeah, I think just given that he's maybe a little bit short on main deck playable cards here, he did spend a pick picking up the Wastes and blanked a couple times toward the end. But overall, I think he's got to be pretty happy here. The 2 Wall of Resurgences are great for holding down the fort. And going forward in the next pack, I think he's going to be looking for some more life gain synergies and cohort allies, especially. Cohort being especially powerful in the white-black decks.
Right. So now we see pack 2, which will be going in the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
There you get a look at Finkel, Goodennis, Jacob Wilson.
Definitely an all-star table here.
So we now know that Nissa's Judgment actually will make its way around the table to Luis Scott Vargas.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because that's the foil one that Luis ended up picking up.
There's a Zulaport Chain Mage in this pack. There's a Tar Snare in this pack. So there's a couple cards.
Yeah, given now what we know about how pack 1 went, I'm actually surprised not to see Shuhei pulling the Zulaport Chain Mage to the front. That's a card I'd really like to have 1 or 2 copies of in my black-white decks. That said, the McKindy Aeronaut, well, it looks sort of innocuous.
2 drops are at a premium.
Yeah, and it's especially great if you end up with some support cards.
Yeah.
Just having an early evasive creature that will come down before your support is just awesome. So Korth Scythemaster, Tar Snare.
Yeah, showing no interest in the Tar Snares at all.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, Tar Snare, it's not a premium removal spell, but it is removal and it is solid, very playable. Surprised not to see Shuhei give it a little bit more credit than he has so far, but some of that may just be, experience with exactly how it matches up numbers-wise in the format. There are a lot of 4 toughness creatures, for example, 3 and 4 toughness creatures.
So Scythe Master right to the front of the pack.
Yeah, Scythe Master, another card that's awesome to support on, put in the set especially for that purpose, to be something awesome to put +1/+1 counters on. One thing that's interesting about Shuhei's deck so far is he's a little bit split between being aggressive and having a little bit of a support theme versus being super defensive with the Walls of Resurgence.
Right.
So we'll see if he decides to pick a direction or the other going forward here.
So here you see Spawn Miner Mage versus Vampire Envoy.
Yeah, both of these cards excellent. Vampire Envoy, one of the top commons
as well. Is that another Zulaport Chain Mage back there?
Oh, it could have been.
I saw Zula.
Yeah, it looks like it was.
It is.
So we'll see what he goes with here. Either would be an excellent choice to add to his deck. I think the Vampire Envoy a little bit stronger overall, and it is the card that he picks there.
To me, one of the surprising cards. It looks a little innocuous. It's like a flying horn turtle, which is fine, right? You expect to play it, but that ability has just been the gain life ability. It plays so well with cohort.
Absolutely. Yep. Tailor made for that purpose. Does an excellent job at it.
So step glider, expedition raptor.
Yeah. Again, both these cards great flying 5-drops.
Crumbling vestige is a give you colored mana and then colorless mana later. He does take the step glider though.
Yep. I think either of those 5-drops would be fine. Yeah, just sort of depends on where in his mind he thinks his deck is going to go.
And there is a Seer's Lantern. There's a Corrupted Crossroads, but there's also a Wastes.
Yeah, you can see
no real card for his
deck.
See
the white and black really drying up, and that might go back to having passed John the isolation zone early in pack 1.
Yeah.
He may be fighting a little bit for his colors. That said, I really like picking up a Seer's Lantern here. It looks like sort of a mediocre source of colorless mana, but the way that Shuhei's deck is shaping up, he's going to be playing really long games, and that Scry 1 ability can really add up over time. Okay, so here's a Chain Mage. Looks like it would be
and another Hedron Crawler.
Yeah, I could see either of those making the deck. Personally, I would go for the Chain Mage here.
He hasn't even looked at a Chain Mage.
Yeah, I'm surprised. It could be he just undervalues that compared to how I value it or how other players have.
Taking Crumbling Vestige there, actually.
Okay.
He already has one Hedron Crawler.
So there's a Chitinous Cloak is an option just to kind of punch through, maybe put it on a McKindy Aeronaut or something, but looks like he's pulled Unknown Shores and Warden of Geometries to the front. I like the Unknown Shores here better. Warden of Geometries I view more as like a filler kind of a creature if I've been struggling to get enough colorless mana in my deck. But Unknown Shores is just one of the premium land sources of colorless mana in the set.
So he's looking at Crumbling Vestige over Afa Protector. Sky Scour doesn't really play well in his deck.
Yeah, Sky Scour more for like the black-red or blue-black decks.
He takes that Crumbling Vestige.
Yep, I like the Crumbling Vestige there. Afa Protector is a fine card, but not something he really needs, especially given the 2 walls that he already has.
Oh, right.
And with the amount of colorless mana that Shuhei's picked up so far, it looks like that Eldrazi Displacer could be turning on for him in gameplay.
So a Tar Snare came back around the table. Perhaps he knew that would happen.
Perhaps, yeah.
I wonder if any of the Chain Mages will come back.
Yeah, I think that would be really, really fortunate for him.
There's a Havoc Sower.
The way his deck is shaping up, it looks like he might have some trouble closing out games. The Eldrazi Displacer is one card that can do that for him, but I would have loved to see him pick up or put a little bit more of a premium on Cohort so far. Oh, these are all interesting cards. Visions of Brutality is a card I really like in aggressive decks, but Witness the End, just a Mind Rot with a little bit of extra value, is also great for a slower, more controlling deck that it looks like he's got here.
Green just unloved at this table by everyone except
Luis, as we saw earlier.
Takes a Pulse of Marasa, and his last card.
So overall, a solid second pack. A bunch more playables. I think his deck is definitely shaping up fine. It's maybe lacking a little bit of pizzazz in terms of like a bomb rare that he could use to close out games. The Displacer is probably the all-star in his deck right now. And other than that, he's got a lot of solid cards, but
You see him sorting through his deck. You see him putting his mana down in a separate pile.
Yep.
So going into pack 3, how do you feel about this deck? What's your...
I would feel slightly underwhelmed, like solid, I think, but maybe looking for something to really stand out in pack 3. Definitely we'd be looking for a bomb flyer or something along those lines.
Did he take the Spawnbinder Mage over the Vampire Envoy after all? Because I'm not seeing the Vampire Envoy.
Yeah, he may have. It was actually really tricky to see. I know we were talking about the pick earlier on. I think right at the last minute he switched which he was going to take. So
Okay, now that we get a chance to actually look at the pack, we see that he did take the Spawn Binder Mage, so a little bit more cohort than maybe we had originally
Yeah, and that
thought.
actually, I think, might help him here just with the Spawn Binder Mage, maybe helping him push through a little bit.
It was, if you look at the Grand Prix Nagoya winning deck list, there were 2 copies of Spawn Binder Mage in
Yeah.
there.
I think that's a card that has gone up a lot in people's evaluation as they played the format
Yeah,
more.
cohort was hard to evaluate before you actually got a chance to play with the cards.
Definitely. So here we are. This is
Gideon's Reproach is the card that he's got the most forward in his deck. He was looking at that Fortified Rampart.
Yeah, Zulaport Cutthroat, another notable card here. But I think, yeah, Gideon's Reproach, probably just the clear pick for
That's a
Shuhei.
non-foil Desolation Twin, right? Or is that the foil
Hard to tell sometimes from the glare here. I'm not sure. We did see a foil one floating around earlier in Luis's draft. Luis kind of trolled us with it a little bit by pulling it to the front at one point, but
It's kind of funny, 2 twins. So yeah, Gideon's Approach, solid removal card.
yeah.
Opponents might have to overcommit to get through his assortment of walls and animated lands.
Ooh,
Wow.
Angel of Renewal. That is a great fit for Shuhei's deck.
So gain life equal to the number of creatures you control.
Yep. Very, very solid card. Not necessarily one of the absolute most powerful or efficient cards, but it does just the right thing for Shuhei's deck given where he is right now. He just needs a high power
And
flyer.
keep in mind, he has Eldrazi Displacer.
Oh, wow.
So
I wasn't even thinking about
he
that.
can just
BDM.
put a game way out of reach. I mean, he's looking for some card with an enter the battlefield trigger.
Yeah,
that
that's
gives
very
him
true.
that gives him a little extra value out of that beyond blinking out their blockers.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
there
there's
are-
the foil
there are
Desolation
2
Twin. Wow,
twins.
so a pair of twins in this draft then.
So looking at the Expedition Envoy.
Yeah,
and the
Ghostly Sentinel
I
is
like
also a
I like the
consideration
range
here.
on his casting costs for
Yeah,
this
I
pick.
personally like the Ghostly Sentinel better here. I don't think Shuhei's deck is well equipped to end the game with early attacks. I think he wants a flyer that can help him win in a longer game. But it looks like he does go for the Envoy there, valuing an extra body for cohort purposes. Yeah. Definitely reasonable.
So there's a Fortified Rampart. There's a Courier
Griffin.
Another card that does everything he wants it to do and provides value for him with the Eldrazi Displacer.
Yep. In triple BFZ, Fortified Rampart was a card players really, really liked a lot in their defensive decks, but given the 2 walls of Resurgence that Shuhei already has,
Right.
I think he doesn't need to go for that early defense and can afford to take an extra flyer instead, which I think is great for his deck.
So pretty much nothing. Oh, he sees a Ruin Processor.
Yeah, I mean, Angelic Gift is a filler card I'll sometimes play. Yeah, but maybe just the Ruin Processor, just having a big Eldrazi, maybe even if it lives in the sideboard,
Sure.
comes in certain matchups, I think is totally fine. Compare with Witness the End if you're
Right.
playing a grindier game.
Is that the only way he has exiling?
I believe so, yeah.
So there's Noyan Den, Royal
Noyan
Shaper.
Dar.
Noyan Dar, yes.
Scour from Existence is a card I might be happy to have access to post sideboard.
He's thinking about that gift. Thinking about just. He's also thinking about Noyan Dar.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Crumbling Vestige and an Unknown Shores,
Yeah.
so it's reasonable to pick up a
He
splash
might
there.
even have 2 Crumbling Vestiges at this
Yeah.
point.
Lithomancer's Focus and Dutiful Return, his options there.
Not getting a lot of towards the back of these packs at all.
Yeah, that's very true. Looks like he's most likely been fighting a little bit for his colors with his neighbors. We didn't see a lot of great black coming in pack 1, and again, we don't see a lot of great black coming in pack 3. And then we know that
He passed
Shuhei
great
passed
white cards.
Isolation Zone
Yeah.
to John, so if John is white, or maybe the person to John's left is white, he may be fighting over those colors on sort of both sides.
Munda Ambush Leader.
Yeah, that's a reasonable pickup
again,
here.
Not hard for him to splash that card.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And given where his deck is at, he might need a little bit of extra.
Yeah, does he have enough
power
allies to sort of rip through?
Yep. Pathway Arrows and Dutiful Return, both decent sideboard cards. I think either one is a good addition. Probably neither would make his main deck. Maybe the Pathway Arrows does. It's possible.
Yeah, if he can turn on the ingest process engine for Mindraker, he will probably have already made his opponent discard 2 cards.
Right.
So Mindraker might not get a lot of value.
Picking up the aligned Hedron network to counteract the 2 Desolation
Oh, look at
twins
that,
that are
an
going
Angelic
around.
Captain.
Oh, that's great, given
So-
the Munda now. So
Yeah.
I think red will definitely be a splash in
Yeah.
this deck at this point.
And when we were looking at the 3-0 decks from Grand Prix Vancouver, there were a lot of black-white decks that splashed red in
Yes.
the 3-0 draft decks there.
Yep.
So that was not something uncommon.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things we might see a lot this weekend is more tending toward 3-color decks
Yeah.
with Oath of the Gatewatch. Ironically, with the addition of colorless mana, there's actually so much more mana fixing now that it's more likely people are going
Well, and you saw
multicolor.
like three sources of his colorless mana
Yeah,
also provide colored mana either once or if you jump through the correct hoops.
exactly, yeah.
So looking at his draft deck, Ian, give me a grade for the deck.
I'm going to go with a B, maybe a B minus. I think
Okay.
it's a solid example of a black-white deck, but it was definitely clear to me that he was fighting with his neighbors for his colors. So
And then how about drafting his seat?
I'm going to go also a B, maybe a B plus. Yeah, I liked most of his picks in general. There were a couple of things where it could have gone either way, but I think he had reasonable decisions given where he was. And yeah, it was maybe just a little bit of a tough draft
Yeah,
for him, but
I'm
I think
curious-
overall it was solid.
Curious, I'm with you on the Bs. I'm curious to see where those Zulaport Chain Mages ended
Yeah.
up at the table. But that's our first look at drafting Oath of the Gatewatch here at Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch. For Ian Duke, this is Brian David Marshall.